Now, what was this one? You sent this one. Was it called Noctropolis? What was it called?
Noctropolis. Okay. So think of it as a super. Okay. So first off, to begin with, it pulls you in by having you be a character that gets pulled into a game. Okay. So you buy this game. It's a game about this comic book character that you were a fan of. Only to find out that you're given the opportunity to take on the mantle of this this superhero you're a fan of called Darkseer. Think of him as like a Batman type character.
Oh.
And in order to get access to some of his devices and, the superpowers and whatnot, you have to track down his old sidekick, who was this girl Stiletto. She's the one that's on the screen right now.
Stiletto?
Stiletto. And she's, you get the impression that there was like something of a romance between the characters that went south. She's retired, very jaded. She's, become an alcoholic. You need to, show her a little bit of human kindness, get her out of her shell so that she kind of comes back and helps you. And, very, very interesting stuff. But, the stand-in for Gotham here is a city called Noctropolis, where it's literally a city where it's always night. And it has to do with, the whole comic book backstory and whatnot. And it's a lot of fun, but also this would be a strong PG-13 type of game. One of the villain characters that you remember from your days of reading the comics is a character by the name of the Succubus, who literally comes out of the game into the real world and tries to seduce you in a very PG-13 / R-rated way.
Oh, well, I want to play this now.
And then a little bit later on, there's a more romantic scene with Stiletto that's, I guess this would probably be a little bit more of an R-rated type of game
Who's the woman in the picture there? Is that Stiletto or is that the
That is
Succubus?
Stiletto there in that picture, yeah.
She's got nice hair.
Oh, yeah, she's very, very attractive actress. You can even find her on IMDb. She's been in some other things.
Cool.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And that's another one of those, point and click kind of things.
That's more like a superhero type thing, or like something like The Shadow or something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
And I don't want to say too much because, there's a little trick ending I don't want to ruin. But
sure. I'm going to say this. Some of these games are coming out of the woodwork finally after all these years. I know Good Old Games, they'll release a lot of the older stuff. And I know sometimes they're even trying to do remasters. This was the Star Trek 25th anniversary game. Did you have this one?
I do have it, but I never played it.
Okay.
There was a previous game that I had played. It was a text-based game called Star Trek: The Kobayashi Alternative.
Okay.
That was a little bit of a challenge to play because you were never 100% certain if anything was happening, because they would, like you'd say, go, set a course for Gamma Hydra 3, at warp 5 engage. And then it would be real time before you actually got there. And it's like, are we going? Is anything happening? But Matthew Flint says, if I start making jokes, will they go over your head again? Probably. Don't know specifically what we're talking about, but yeah, maybe.
All right. But anyway, it's funny. They did release a Star Trek 25th anniversary for the NES, which I think was more like an adventure game, but it had a completely original storyline that was separate from the PC game. For instance, I think in the PC game was mainly Klingons were the villains, and the one on the NES was Romulans. So that was kind of neat.
Okay.
This one I did have for PC. This is the Blade Runner.
I was going to say, this looks like Blade Runner.
It is. This was a wonderful. This is one of the most advanced point-and-click games ever played. They even got a lot of the same actors from the Blade Runner movie to do voice acting in it. Sean Young was in it. No Harrison Ford. You're playing another Blade Runner. And this is taking place concurrent with the movie. So stuff that's happening in the movie is happening on the background while you're also hunting down another band of replicants that
makes
Decker
sense.
doesn't know about.
Okay? I mean, it totally works, right?
Yeah.
And Sean Young, her character was... replicant. So, she could have been multiple characters, actually.
This, I believe, you can get from Good Old Games.
Oh.
But apparently, one company I really like, what's their name? Is it Deep Silver? They do remasters of old games, and they are trying to do a remaster of this. The trouble is, this was put out by Westwood Studios, and they were bought out by EA, and they think during the transfer, a lot of the code for this game got lost. So they said they want to do an HD remaster of this game, but they may be unable to if they can't get that code. So we'll have to wait and see. It is available on Good Old Games in its original form, though, and this was very advanced for the time. Really cool. You're a Blade Runner fan, you'll get a big kick out of this game. Well written. In fact, one reviewer I watched online, Civi, he made a point that in the original Blade Runner movie, if you didn't like the voiceover dialogue in that, he understands. But there's voiceover dialogue in this, and it helps with the game and makes sense. Okay,
yeah,
your main character's doing. He's another Blade Runner. But now we move on to the NES. This is Maniac Mansion. Okay, this is actually based on another PC game. LucasArts made a lot of these point-and-click games as well. And Maniac Mansion came out for PC, but it also came out for the NES. Okay, and I think the main guy's girlfriend gets lost in this house, the Maniac Mansion, and you have to, you and a bunch of his friends have to.
Is his girlfriend in the fridge?
I don't think so. No,
I've got a sinking feeling here. Okay.
I don't think it's a comedic horror game. You can die in it though.
Okay.
So if you do the wrong thing, for instance, this one apparently got kind of censored on the NES because Nintendo was more hardcore with that sort of thing back then. But apparently something slipped through their censors, and there are a bunch of different characters, right? And you find one of the people that lives in the house hamster, right? And of course, there's a microwave in this kitchen. And if you go over to the microwave and try to put the hamster inside the microwave, most of the characters are going to say, "No, I'm not going to do that. That's horrible. You're not going to put a hamster in the microwave." Except for two. Two of them will do it. Okay, the two rock and roll types will put the hamster in the microwave, right? And then if you leave it in there, the microwave goes on for a minute, and then you see this little explosion, the sound effect, right? You can then take the dead hamster. If you show the dead hamster to the owner that lives in the house, he will murder you, and your character will be dead for the rest of the game. So, but this was also available on PC. This was followed by a game I think called Day of the Tentacle as well. But
interesting.
But on the NES, we had to deal with what we had. But this is Shadowgate. This is a heroic fantasy point-click adventure game. And as you can see, you got your goods up top. You'd move your controller around to click on different things because you didn't have a keyboard. And you get little text bubbles at the bottom. What's this? A wraith is standing in your way, barring your path. These were based on Macintosh adventure games, okay, made for the Macintosh early on. But they were remade on the NES. This one's Shadowgate. This one is Deja Vu. It's more like a hard-boiled detective thing in the 1930s. You play a private eye who can't remember who he is, and you're trying to solve the mystery. And you're in an office, a dead body slumped over his desk, that sort of thing.
Sure.
This is the Uninvited. This was the third one. This takes place in a haunted house, and you're looking for your lost sister who ran into the house, and you're trying to find her. And it's it's acid. It doesn't take long for it to dissolve your body. You get a lot of descriptions of all the horrible ways you die in these games.
Man.
The neat thing about these NES games is they have been re-released again in a neat collection, and it only costs $8. You get all three of them, and it's available on Steam. It's also available on Xbox and PlayStation. So if you have any of those systems, you can replay these NES adventure games. Considering the fact that this one, The Uninvited, goes for $100 used as an NES cartridge, $8, not a bad deal. And that first game I showed you, the adventure game, the heroic fantasy one, Shadowgate. This got remade a few years ago. The original creators decided to do a crowdfunding campaign and said, help us, raise funds like how, people in Comicsgate and other things do funding campaigns for their things. And they were able to, fund a remake of the original Shadowgate. Now, it has some of the puzzles are the same and some are completely different. So it's like a remake. So not everything's the same if you play the original. And you can even play with the original Nintendo soundtrack if you don't want to play with the new orchestrated music. Or the new soundtrack's good too, though. So I'm not gonna. And it's really neat. And this one you can also get, and this is available on game consoles and on mobile devices as well, and PC, obviously. There we go. We're back to normal.
is talking about an Infinite's FMV horror game called Night Trap.
Oh,
It was more video footage than actual game.
Night Trap. I never got a chance to play Night Trap. This was the big game that came out for the Sega CD back in the day. It had Dana Plato from Different Strokes was in it. And
Oh.
like you would observe these different rooms, and you'd have to, I guess, stop the girls from getting killed or by these weird burglars or guys dressed in black. You have to set off traps for them. Don't quote me on this. I never actually played it. I do own it though because they re-released it on the Nintendo Switch of all systems. You can get it for your Nintendo Switch, and maybe it's available on PC as well. And of course, they did their best to remaster the old FMV video, but it still looks kind of basic for the time, because it's back. This was back when they were introducing full motion video. Now, is that an adventure game? I mean, it's a relative. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. But I do remember when that game came out.
Now, did you say it was on the Sega?
Sega CD.
Okay. Yep. I found a playthrough of it. I'm going to save it for later.
It's a funny game. Like the acting is not the best. But let me see here though. Reminding me of the Sega Mega Drive game Comic Zone. Oh, well, Comic Zone, yeah, you can actually get that's on the Sega Genesis Mini. That's actually a beat 'em up game, so it's not a point click adventure game. But the neat thing about that is you play a guy that he writes superhero comics, right? And then something happens and he gets sucked into his own comic book and has to fight the bad guys in the comic book, but he actually has to jump through panels. Do you understand? It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
It's kind of a neat take on that. But yeah, anybody else? Missed had full motion video. I'm just seeing if I missed anything here. Yeah. Oh, I like ending. Oh, look at this, Zootopia. Thank you. Yes, I like ending my week of listening, Z2. We appreciate having you. But anyway, that's what we had for entertainment back in the day. And you know what? They're still entertaining now. And seriously, if that Blade Runner remaster comes out, do yourself a favor. If you're an all Blade Runner fan, buy it. Okay, buy the re-release when it comes out. It should come out for everything.
No, he says that Baldur's Gate is a role-playing game. He doesn't count that as an adventure
think
game.
So. Of course, if you're a fan of Baldur's Gate, those have gotten re-releases as of late as well. I think it even came out on the Switch.
In fact, until just recently, Netter was replaying one of the what do you call it? King's Quest games that she got on Steam. I mean, literally,
really?
because you brought it up last week, it got her thinking about it. So she was.
Was it
playing
the
with
new
this
one?
basically.
Was it the new one? Because they released a new one.
It's a newer one.
After all these years, they made a new one. It was. I didn't get a chance to play it. It was released in episodes, but that's cool.
It basically starts with an old King Graham talking to his granddaughter, telling her the story, and you're playing the adventure of that story.
I have a suspicion it's the new one they did. I'm curious about it. Actually, let me know if it's any good because
she's enjoyed it. Yeah,
yeah, because I think it was by the same people that made the whole thing. But look at this. Netter says, I have all the old PC games on disc. Leisure Suit Larry, Baldur's Gate, King's Quest, and tens more. Okay.
Yeah.
But, Telltale sort of brought this back. Theirs were a little bit more simpler than the old adventure games we knew, but they kind of had that feel. They did one based on Game of Thrones, which I played a bit of. And I have to tell you, they even got the actors from Game of Thrones to be on it, and nothing in that game terrified me more than being a chambermaiden or whatever at King's Landing, because you play different members of this household, and one of them was one of the women over at King's Landing. She was like one of the sisters in the family. She was working for Marjorie Tyrell, I think, right?
Okay.
And you have to meet Cersei Lannister in one scene.
Oh gosh.
And I don't know. You're like brought before the court and you have to answer her questions. And I'm sorry, Cersei terrified me. Okay.
I can understand that.
Everything in that game, all the horrible stuff, it was Cersei that terrified me the most. I don't know why.